And hello everyone, and welcome back to round number 4 here, Engine Challenge number 2 here at Psychototal Collectibles. My name is once again Jesus Coronel, alongside Dennis Geisler, and we are going to have an interesting round number 4 here. We're getting really close to this top cut phase, and so many different teams. We've seen a lot of Weezings lately. Sadly, we're not going to see a Weezing in this round over here, and we're going to see one team that looks pretty standard and the other one's looking all over the place right now, as Brandon Davis on the screen here going to be having, this is Richard Salazar on the left with Fluttermane, Chanpal, Tornadus Incarnate, Ogerpon Heartflame form, Landorus Therian, and Iron Hands, while for Brandon, he's got a team of Hydreigon, Ogerpon Wellspring form, Heatran, Iron Hands, Landorus Therian, and Monkey Dory.
Yeah, I'm interested in this Monkey Dory pick. We heard a little bit about it going into this regulation. Obviously, one of the loyal 3 people want to try it out. I like the big thing about it is it gets Fake Out along with its Toxic Chain, so it always has a chance of badly poisoning something every time it comes into battle. It also has Parting Shot to switch out of battle so that it can come back in and Fake Out again, which is some of its strongest stuff, and then it just has a high special attack stat. Psychic Sludge Bomb is the rest of the moves on Brandon's Monkey Dory. You also see that Hydreigon, which it gets Tailwind.
We have not seen Hydreigon ever since ever since the first series heading into the San Diego Regionals, and it's fallen off significantly. Probably because Fluttermane is probably the biggest reason for it, but I think it feels good to see Hydreigon again. Yeah,
and I think the good thing about this, especially when you have that Terra Poison that Brandon's running, is that you have Poison plus Levitate. You really mitigate your number of weaknesses. It's like Weezing, but when Weezing has Levitate and not neutralizing gas.
Yeah, and again, here for Richard's side of the field, it's going to be that big hyper-offensive Tailwind mode that he has. And if he can overwhelm Brandon, this could be a big problem for at least where it's going to be happening right now. And here we go. We see Hydreigon Heatran for Brandon. Richard needs double Genies, Tornadus, and Landorus.
Indeed, and the other interesting thing about Brandon's team is that Heatran. It's it's held item. Usually you see the Assault Vest or something. This one has Ability Shield. And it switches out. It does not want any part of Landorus.
Well, Landorus coming in now for Brandon's side, so Brandon's Landorus is going to get the Intimidate drop onto Richard's Landorus. I'm wondering what this Hydreigon even does here. Are we going to see an evening Tailwinds, or we just forget that Hydreigon is just a Dark type that's immune to a Prankster move. So U-turn going to hit onto the Hydreigon, which is not enough to take a knockout. Richard has to free switch out here. We have to see the rest of his team in the back. Do we see a Tailwind from this Hydreigon, barring from what Richard has? And it's Fluttermane Ogerpon.
Indeed it is. And yeah, that let's see what the decision is here. Both these Pokemon would threaten pretty decent damage onto both of these things. Will be the Fluttermane. A lot of potential damage onto that Hydreigon.
Booster energy now activating for Richard's Fluttermane. It's going to be the special attack booster, so really rely on that Tailwind to do something here. Hydreigon gets his own Tailwind, and now, I mean, I don't think it's really that simple for someone to forget that Dark types are immune to Prankster, or that, actually, you know what, now that I think about it, I think Brandon expected this Terra from Hydreigon.
That's what I was going to say, is I think the option was the Terastallization. Either Hydreigon takes a bunch of damage from the U-turn, which it did, or it gets taunted.
And we see Heatran switch in for the Hydreigon. It is pretty worried about something like that Moonblast coming its way. We're seeing the Terastallization for Richard's Fluttermane. It is going to be Fairy type, so it's going to have offensive power going its way. But I mean, if it goes Dazzling Gleam, it's not the worst thing in the world, because you'd still get the damage onto his Landorus as his Tailwind goes up. So we get speed control here. So the Landorus isn't going to get the outspeed with that Choice Scarf. Oh, never mind, it does. Yes, Rock Slide. A lot of damage to both Pokemon. 50% immediately. Everything going to flinch into the Fluttermane.
And there it is, the Landorus special, the flinch on the Rock Slide. And that was a couple of different things coming together there. The Fluttermane threatens the Heatran with a lot more damage than we're typically used to. Heatran, not Assault Vest, has the Ability Shield. Fluttermane with the booster energy for its special attack instead of its speed, but because it's so much slower, that Rock Slide able to come out, and it comes out once again.
Knocks out the Tornadus because it took a lot of damage from the first hit, so it goes down. Does Heatran have a good chance to actually just Tailwind up now that I think about it? Yeah, both times that Tailwind, then I forgot. The Dragon got a decent one out. There's a Moonblast into his Landers. There's enough for a one-hit knockout thanks to booster energy and the terrestrialization. Flash Cannon is an option for Brandon's Heatran. It missed a Heat Wave, however.
Ooh, that's brutal. That is really brutal for Brandon, because that was a really good moment there. Nearly able to take down both of these Pokemon. The Heatran would then have a pretty decent matchup into at least the remaining Ogerpon. Now, still have to deal with that Flutter Mane, still with a lot of speed with the, Tailwind behind it. And yes, we do finally get to see the Monkey Dory on the field.
Monkey Dory threatening Fake Out on both these Pokemon now that he has no more immunities thanks to the Translation on the Flutter Mane. And the interaction here, Mold Breaker, normally an ability that would bypass other abilities when attacking, so Ivy Cudgel will be something to touch the Heatran. But because Heatran's holding an ability shield, Mold Breaker will have no effect.
Exactly, and that is the adaptation there of the Heatran bringing the ability shield. It also now means it's able to run Protect, instead of having to run 4 attacks with its Assault Vest set, in exchange for it being a lot less bulky against particularly the Flutter Mane that it used to be so good at dealing with, especially if it decides to go for the Grass Rascalization. Nice Protect there from Flutter Mane. And we'll just see the double protect.
Yeah, double protect here. So Fake Out goes into Ogerpon. That means Monkey Dory's going to be taking some damage. Heatran protecting too, so this likely does not signal a Fake Out. It looks like it could be a Sludge Bomb into the Flutter Mane slot, and it looks like to be a Sludge Bomb. Yeah, it is the Flutter Mane.
Yeah, and that's not a terrible idea, especially if you predicted something like this. You don't necessarily get a lot from using Fake Out into the Flutter Mane slot. I don't think it picks up the knockout. It'd be pretty close. I don't think it would. And Ogerpon would just Spiky Shield probably. So, in any case, Monkey Dory will now leave. The Tailwind is now down for Brandon, so this is the one turn where Brandon is dramatically slower.
Hydreigon comes in here, wants to at least take something before his Monkey Dory gets hit by anything, and Brandon going for his Terra onto the Heatran for the Grass typing.
Yeah, and this makes it really hard to break for Ogerpon. Ogerpon used to have a great matchup into it with that Mold Breaker, now doesn't because of the ability shield. Doesn't really do anything into this.
Ooh, the Shadow Ball goes into the Monkey Dory slot, so now Hydreigon's going to be able to resist it, take the hit a bit better. Ogerpon goes for the Stopping Tantrum, so it does cover for a non-translation on the Heatran, but instead it's going to be that move, and Heat Wave going to miss the Flutter Mane. Does hit the Ogerpon, however, and it does nearly 50% of its health.
Missing the Heat Wave on Flutter Mane twice in a row is rough. Heatran really just wants to get that Flutter Mane out of here. It's still threatening so much damage. That probably would have finished off the Flutter Mane if it connected. Hydreigon would have gotten a, not free, but pretty efficient Tailwind off, and Brandon might have been able to clear through the rest of the game. But now still having to play against this Flutter Mane.
As we see the Spiky Shield come in, Ogerpon still worried about a double-up attack. Moonblast the choice here for Richard, just to make sure this Hydreigon does not get any opportunity to go for a Tailwind once again, as well, neither player has that option anymore, and Brandon's team looks pretty slow now. Heat Wave, will it connect onto the Flutter Mane, or will it miss that third time? It connects.
That is very important. Brandon finally finishing off that Flutter Mane, doing so much work. That was a huge break point in this game where those two missed Heat Waves, but Brandon might still be able to work past it. Just the Landorus on each side remaining as the... Oh no, the Monkey Dory is still around.
Yeah, we still have a Monkey Dory for Brandon. Let's see who brings it out. He does bring it out, so it does give a free opportunity for this Heatran to switch on to Landorus to get an Intimidate onto Richard's Landorus. And Monkey Dory...
Monkey Dory can also Parting Shot out.
Yeah, it can.
It can just fake out Parting Shot, keep trying to cycle its way out, and let Landorus keep coming in. You could also just hard switch from the Heatran, but...
Fake Out goes into Landorus. What does activate the Toxic Chain? And it is going to activate the Toxic Chain!
That is what we all wanted to see, the Monkey Dory Toxic Chain. Getting that extra damage down.
Ivy Cudgel the Monkey Dory, not enough for a one-hit knockout. Heat Wave misses something, misses the Ogerpon this time, and Landorus now in a bit of a timer next to the poison.
Yeah, exactly. Landorus will not be up too much longer. I guess the question here is, what can they do to Heatran? What can these two Pokemon do to Heatran, especially if Landorus comes in and lowers their attack? Heatran just feels like it can keep launching out Heat Waves. The U-turn is probably the best damage. That did better damage than I thought it would.
Ogerpon now goes for the Stopping Tantrum into this Monkey Dory, so it will pick up that knockout there. Intimidate will be coming the next turn for Brendan's Landorus into Richard's Landorus and Ogerpon. Heatran is going to go for the Heat Wave, does double connect on both Pokemon. I think Landorus will faint to the Toxic, and Ogerpon barely surviving, and I'm wrong, it's 3 HP.
Yeah, Landorus and Ogerpon.
Oh wait, the Landorus fainted.
The Landorus did faint. That makes us, no, Heatran just protects here. Heatran can protect here, Ogerpon can't really do anything. Landorus will faint this turn. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, now Heatran's going to protect. Landorus goes down to the poison, and all that the Ogerpon can do is probably just Horn Leech to get some HP back, but the way that that damage was doing, no, you just go for Earth Power.
Yeah, I think the answer is the Stomping Tantrum is probably the best idea, especially because now it will, yeah, I don't know. I really, I don't think there's an answer. I think Heatran just takes this, and that is the adaptation. We were talking about how good of an answer Ogerpon is into the Heatran that has been so strong, and instead, as we hold, okay, doesn't get the crit, doesn't get some crazy damage or anything. The Earth Power finishes it off, and a great job by Brandon to win game number 1.
Who thought we would be seeing Hydreigon put in a lot of work by not even doing damage? That Tailwind, ladies and gentlemen, it's why it needs to be importantly considered, because getting any speed advantage is always important on a single Pokemon team, because as if you have the speed advantage, you have a lot of hits.
And having the Hydreigon with the ability to drop Draco Meteor is also really important, because now you know you can't just leave it there as well. You always have to be threatening the Hydreigon, which means that something else gets a little less attention on it, because the Hydreigon has to be focused, because it could just hit you with a massive damage Draco Meteor at any point in time. That was really well played by Brandon, especially near the end. I keep harping on it, but that Ability Shield Heatran really does make it so much better of an answer into this Fire Ogerpon. I think the value of that will depend on how much we see the Fire Ogerpon in the long term, but as of now, where a lot of people are really liking that Ogerpon Hearth Flame, it worked pretty well.
Ability Shield is something you really don't see in Heatran being the first Pokemon to take advantage of this because of a Mold Breaker Pokemon having access to fire moves. It's big as Flash Fire Pokemon. It doesn't have to be Heatran, you know, it could also be Armarouge and Sarah Ledge as the other big 2 Pokemon. Could be anything. But now that you're Richard knowing this information, maybe you really should have prioritized the Terrastalization onto the Landorus that game. You know, get a powerful Terra Blast off, and I would have taken care of it, but instead we're just going to see Richard forego the Landorus and Tornadus entirely.
Yeah, and I don't hate the adaptation. Chien-Pao is the other thing that can seriously threaten Heatran. Even though it doesn't have the Sacred Sword, it is actually running Haze in that 4th slot instead. It still has the Ice Spinner to threaten the Terastallized Heatran, and then the Heatran is otherwise threatened by Stomping Tantrum and Drain Punch and everything else.
Because 2 completely different reads here, and I actually was wrong about the whole Tornadus and Landorus not being here. So Richard will lead Tornadus and Flutter Mane, Brandon going Ogerpon Iron Hand, so 2 different leads from both sides. If you okay, let me have a look at this. Okay, Ogerpon could just go for the Wood Hammer onto the Flutter Mane, which also needs to be switched out into. It's just, this is really hard because Richard needs to get up this Tailwind in order to get that speed advantage, but Brandon could have a lot of bulk on his side because Ogerpon waters are typically starting to become a lot more bulkier than people would like to expect, and Iron Hand's, you know, notoriously bulky.
See the early Terastallization here.
It's gonna be Brandon's Iron Hands, and it's gonna go to that Water type.
Yeah. See a little bit more of that Terra Water Iron Hands. Previously saw more of the grass, but this is a good opportunity for the water as it's being threatened potentially by a Tornadus with flying type moves.
Okay, 2 different protects on each side. Richard's Flutter Mane is going to protect, and Ogerpon for Brandon is going to spike his shield, and that's a free Tailwind setup. And I believe this was supposed to be a Heavy Slam going into the Flutter Mane based on what was supposed to be happening, and it was going to be the Heavy Slam. The plan was to take a Moonblast, Revenge KO the Flutter Mane, and make sure that Tailwind doesn't get set up for something too threatening, but that probably would have been able to set up the Ogerpon for Richard if he got his Flutter Mane knocked out.
Yeah, now there's a lot of options for Richard on how to play out the rest of this. You have the Tailwind now, so you're way faster. You can set up the Sunny Day if you want to set up your Ogerpon, as well as do a little bit of damage to the other Ogerpon's damage, although I think it'll be using Woodhammer more than Ivy Cudgel this game.
You see the sunny day now, so Ogerpon's Ivy Cudgel will be doing a lot less damage. Dazzling Gleam, the choice for this Flutter Mane, and is doing around 40% to both Pokemon. Ivy Cudgel going into the Flutter Mane, and that's a pretty important Rain Dance that happened into this Flutter Mane, but not going to take 2 attacks, as the Heavy Slam was also directed towards it. And who knows if that critical hit mattered, but I likely did not think so.
I don't think it mattered even a tiny bit. I'm surprised that it was even a double into that Flutter Mane slot, because I think the Heavy Slam probably would have done most of the damage to it by itself. If not, it would just picked up the one-hit KO. And now a full health Tornadus supporting a full health Ogerpon Fire.
Now we see, I'm actually really surprised Richard didn't go for the Terrestrialization onto this Ogerpon, because I'm not sure if a neutral Horn Leech, even though it is super effective to the Iron Hands, would be enough to knock it out at like around 90% HP that it has. Ogerpon not taking any chances, because Weak Wind Storm is live and ready. We're seeing the Landers coming, and I believe now it's safe for that Horn Leech.
Yeah, I believe so. At least for a hit. Horn Leech.
Yeah, not enough to take out the Landers. Just puts it down into the yellow. Weak Wind Storm does double connect on both Pokemon. Iron Hands, once again, able to survive. And Drain Punch goes into Ogerpon, doing over 50% of his health. How much health does it get back? I shouldn't expect it to be into the green. Yeah, it's going to be somewhere around the 35% range, somewhere around there.
Still pretty good health back there. And now the question for Brandon, what do you do with this Ogerpon at half health now? He's going to Spiky Shield. Not a bad idea. Get some chip damage if anyone decides to target it.
Weak Wind Storm goes out once again. It missed the Iron Hand, so it's going to get some important damage onto this Landorus here. So it's going to be in range of anything's next attack. So Landorus in a bit of trouble here, but does get out the Rock Slide into this Tornadus. Not intimidated just yet, just over half of its health. And the Wild Charge doubles into the Tornadus. So if this was the last turn of Taylor for Richard, this was a big knockout.
That was a great call out there by Brandon, predicting the Protect. The Tailwind drops off. Now it is just the Iron Hands and the Ogerpon. I think at this point, it's going to be difficult for Richard to get back in this one. Does have some opportunities to do some good chip damage, although these Pokemon need a little more than chip damage right now. I think, I don't know, you could try to fake out the Landorus and then try to finish off the Iron Hands with Ogerpon. I think at this point there's no reason not to Terastallize Ogerpon. The game's going so badly for you at this point, might as well take the +1.
You have to, Landorus just switches out, so...
Yeah, and that's the thing, is you can start cycling because these two Pokemon are pretty susceptible to Intimidate, and there's not really anything that Richard can do about that fact.
Fake out goes into Ogerpon, under 50% health. Point Leech is enough to knock at the Iron Hand, so slowly but steadily, Ogerpon's getting his HP back, but over time, that Intimidate's going to build up, as I think it already had one from the Landorus on Brandon's side earlier, so not sure if that forces a Terrestrialization from that, or if you're forced to Terrestrialize the Iron Hands for survivability.
Yeah, I don't think either of them specifically is forced, but the problem is Landorus can come back in, drop Iron Hands' attack, drop Ogerpon's attack.
Oh, it's Monkey Dory!
Monkey Dory. Honestly, not all that different. Monkey Dory's just kind of hanging out. And that's the thing, Monkey Dory can fake out the Iron Hands, probably, is the better option, and see if you can get the Toxic Chain Poison. There's no reason not to go for that unless you're more afraid of the Ogerpon, which is a fair enough decision if you are more afraid of the Ogerpon damage here.
And we are going to see Richard go for that Terrestrialization onto the Ogerpon, so it's going to get that attack boost, but will it be able to survive? Actually, better question, is it faster than either of these Pokemon?
That is a question. I mean, it can't outspeed the Fake Out. So if the Fake Out comes out into the Ogerpon slot, then it's kind of just wasting time sitting there.
And here we go, Heartflame Mask going to go into full effect with this Terrestrialization into the Fire typing, and this will give the Embodied Aspect attack boost. But if a Fake Out went into the Ogerpon's way, it's not going to get an attack off. It probably goes out on a Life Because from Brandon's Ogerpon. Instead, we see Follow Me here, so no Fake Out from this Monkey Dory for Brandon. I have to go first for Richard's Ogre Pawn, so it's going to be redirected, but it's still neutral, and the sun is up, so this will knock out the Ogre Pawn. And now it just basically comes down to whether or not a Sludge Bomb knocks out. And it is going to be the choice here. Sludge Bomb, 6 HP, and no poison. Importantly, Wild Charge at the Monkey Dory does a lot of damage, but now you got to worry about a Scarf Landorus that has Earthquake.
Yeah, and no more harsh sunlight. Landorus coming back out. That's -1 Ogre Pawn, -1 Iron Hands. Landorus is really low on health. Iron Hands might be able to finish this off. I think Landorus is going to be really close, because Landorus doesn't really want to Earthquake, because Monkey Dory will also drop, in which case Iron Hands is just able to clean up the battle very easily.
I actually did not consider that, so thank you for clarifying me on that, but oh my goodness. This Scarf Landorus really needs to pick an option, because I'm pretty sure Stopping Tension won't be enough to knock out the Iron Hand, so I think your target has to be towards that Ogre Pawn. And if you're Monkey Dory, I don't think Psychic's enough to knock out either.
I don't think it is either. You can go for the Rock Slide and try to make sure Iron Hands doesn't get to attack. I think it might be your best option, genuinely. It also means that you don't connect. Well, the U-turn would have been the only thing that connected with Ogre Pawn. But yeah, Rock Slide I think is the best option, because you can then get the flinches onto Iron Hands.
Okay, he does connect thankfully into this Iron Hands, not doing a whole lot of damage. Monkey Dory does go for the Psychic into the Iron Hands, so the Spike Shield was predicted correctly. Not enough for the knockout on the Psychic, and Toxic Chain activates.
That's huge. That is really huge. But at the same time, Monkey Dory...
And no flinch, and there is... Yeah, it doesn't protect either, so it's going to take the Heavy Slam now that the flinch did not happen. And now Landorus needs a flinch to clinch Brandon the set, or else we're going to a game 3.
Yeah, this is a very, very important flinch opportunity here. I think Landorus does get taken down by a Heavy Slam here. Rock Slide connects on both.
And now it all comes down to whether
and now hold your breath.
Hold your breath, ladies and gentlemen. Now it comes down to whether or not this Iron Hands flinches, because if it flinches and then the Toxic Chain builds up the damage, Brandon has won the set. But instead, no flinch happens. No Toxic Chain gonna take out the Iron Hands by the Toxic Poison, and we're going to a game 3 instead.
Ooh, that was an exciting end game there. A lot of opportunities there for some lucky happenings to break one player's way or the other. Ultimately, not a whole lot of that, and Brandon ended up clutching out the victory. I do wonder about those decisions towards the end there, because I do believe if Brandon cycled in the Landorus a couple more times, it potentially could have won the battle. It would have been close, it would have been difficult. I also wonder about that Sludge Bomb, how much damage it could have done, what its chance of poisoning was with the Toxic Chain, plus the base poison chance of the move. A couple of things could have broken Brandon's way, and I do think that Intimidate could have been more useful. We also, Heat Ram wasn't there at all, which was surprising, as the answer to this Hearth Flame Ogre Pawn.
At that point, I think the only answer that would have been coming into this Heat Strand was probably that Iron Hands with that Assault Vest, because Drain Punch does a lot of damage even if you're taking neutral hits on a Grass type, but yeah, a little surprising we didn't see the Heat Strand. Maybe Brandon did miss it, but at the same time, all the rest of Brandon's Pokemon did put in all the work that he needed. I do also question about the whole no Intimidate cycling from Brandon's Landorus, because I was certainly expecting that Ogre Pawn just to switch out, or that Monkey Dory at that point.
Yeah, and Monkey Dory also could have used Parting Shot to additionally decrease the attacking stats of both of those Pokemon, which at some point even Iron Hands and Ogre Pawn Hearth Flame, with all the damage that they have, can't go through 3 or 4 attack drops, although at the same time there wasn't a whole lot with a ton of health left on Brandon's side, which might have been the reasoning that, okay, Landorus is not going to take another hit, Ogre Pawn's not going to take another hit, Monkey Dory takes probably 2 hits, it doesn't matter how much I cycle, these Pokemon are going to drop very quickly and I need to do it as much damage as I can, and just wasn't able to beat out the damage. But either way, game number 3, and we're back to High Dragon.
Back to High Dragon, and the Heatran once again returns, and Richard once again switching up his lead for a third game in a row. Now going Tornadus Iron Hands, and now we see Heatran High Dragon for Brandon. And yeah, I do have to agree, Brandon needs to do maybe a bit better job of health management between his Pokemon, because you don't want to be in an endgame where your health actually ends up mattering to an extent where it could be threatening. And High Dragon doesn't want to take any meaningful drain punches against it, nor does it want to waste Terrestrialization, so Iron Hands once again going to take its place.
Yeah, I think the big reasoning there is that, yeah, that fake out was very obvious as the reasoning. It would allow one Tornadus to get the Tailwind up and the High Dragon to not get the Tailwind.
Earth Power doing around 40% of Iron Hands itself, which is not bad, but...
Not bad for damage against an Iron Hands.
It's not bad, but a little bit more desirable if you probably would have went for a Heat Wave. But then again, Heat Wave has been several times already for Brandon, so you probably don't want to be trusting it right now. Iron Hands going to fake out against Richard's Iron Hands. Tornadus does connect on both hits in the Bleak Wind Storm, not doing a whole lot of damage to his both Pokemon are especially bulky, but Heatran takes a speed drop. So it could be detrimental towards the later part of the game. Heat Wave connects on both Pokemon, and we do not see a burn, but Iron Hands under 50% thankfully.
Yeah, some pretty decent damage coming out. This is the most dangerous setup for this Heatran, where it's being threatened with, yeah, that's why it has to protect. It's being threatened with both Drain Punch and Bleak Wind Storm, so it takes super effective damage whether or not it terastallizes, meaning that particularly that Tornadus has to be moved out of the way. The Iron Hands is probably the one with the job to do that right now.
Unfortunately, the job is currently not going so well because it got critical hit from that Bleak Wind Storm. Thankfully, it did not take a speed drop, so Iron Hands does have a shot to take something out with it. Iron Hands is the choice for this Drain Punch for Brandon's Iron Hands. Not enough to knock it out, but it is going to get some HP recovery, which is important for its longevity, and maybe now this Heatran can take it out.
Yeah, one way or another, I think that Brandon can... Yeah, Brandon can just switch out Heatran once. Yeah, that's honestly fine.
Okay, switch goes into that Landorus, so now trying to predict the Drain Punch into the Heatran, because that would have been super effective damage, meaning it probably could have gained enough health to at least get some longevity going. Bleak Wind Storm does miss the Landorus. It had perfect accuracy on this Iron Hand so far today. Iron Hand goes into the Drain Punch, into the Landorus of Brandon, so does perfectly call out that slot correctly. Not going to get a whole lot of health recovery. And Wild Charge not going into the Iron Hands, is instead going to finish up this Tornadus before it gets a second chance to go for a Tailwind.
Really like that play from Brandon. I like the Landorus coming in there. The miss from Bleak Wind Storm is pretty significant. That Bleak Wind Storm does pretty good damage to the Landorus, and that's on the turn that Tailwind drops down. That is probably the big reason why the Tornadus was targeted there. Now the Tailwind is permanently down. Landorus with the Choice Scarf will be very fast. This is special attack booster energy, Fluttermania.
Yes, it is.
It is, and so yeah,
the Fluttermania is in a little bit of a predicament because it has to
Landorus is going to hit this thing really hard.
But how hard is the better question to ask here, because High Dragon can actually switch over to his Iron Hands because of the Levitate and actually could protect his ally from that Earthquake and give off a lot of damage to Fluttermane and the Iron Hands. But because it's a spread move, I don't even think it knocks out the Fluttermane.
Yeah, it would be pretty close. Rock Slide's the other option, and I don't think it would knock out either. We'll see the
Iron Hand switches out. Is this to the High Dragon? It is the High Dragon. This likely signals an Earthquake from Brandon.
I think it's gotta be.
Terrestrialization comes in for Richard, and this is going to be the Fairy Terra from this Fluttermane. So he's looking to get at least a knockout on something, but if it went for Dazzling Gleam, does it knock out the Landorus?
I don't think it knocks out the Landorus. It definitely knocks out the High Dragon.
Earthquake
this is big.
comes out. How much damage this is doing? This is just a Choice Scarf, so it's not going to get any offensive boost. It's not enough to knock out the Fluttermane, but the Iron Hand goes down, and High Dragon likely going to be knocking to get it KO'd by this Dazzling Gleam, and it is going to be that choice. So how much? So High Dragon's going down here. Landorus survives it, thankfully, on the red.
Yeah, Landorus will take the hit. Landorus will get another Earthquake off with that Ogre Pun coming in. And switch into Heatran, can then pretty easily terastallize the Heatran here. There's nothing really threatening the Heatran doing the terastallization.
Oh my goodness, wait a minute, hold on. If Brandon just terastallizes his Heatran, Ogre Pun cannot touch it.
Exactly. I mean, that's the big issue, is that now Fluttermane is the only thing that can hit the Heatran. Landorus does as much damage as it wants. Landorus honestly could get close to finishing the battle here.
All it needs is at least a Protect from Heatran and another Earthquake. Otherwise, this Flutter Mane might have free reign to do whatever it wants.
If Heatran terastallizes, it doesn't even need to protect exactly. It's not a bad idea, but it doesn't really need to.
Yeah, it doesn't really need to. And you know, good for taking Escher because you're still choice locked. You're better off protecting it anyway, just to catch anything by surprise.
You might as well maintain the terastallization options in case something ridiculous happens here.
Both Pokemon protecting from each side, Brendan and Richard protecting Heatran and Flutter Mane respectively from this Earthquake. Ogerpon takes a whole lot of damage. Ivy goes into the Landorus slot, will knock it out. So now Heatran kind of free to go for the terastallization with Iron Hands in the back for fake out pressure onto this Flutter Mane.
Yeah, or alternatively, it does not have to, and the fake out pressure can come onto the Ogerpon. Because, I mean, even if Ogerpon Spiky Shields, who cares? Heatran has a good matchup one-on-one against the Flutter Mane. You finish off the Flutter Mane, and then you can terastallize the Heatran. Because for right now, it's probably better for Heatran to be its base typing than the grass type in the matchup against Flutter Mane one-on-one if Iron Hands with the fake out is able to get Flutter Mane out of, or is able to make it a one-on-one between Flutter Mane and Heatran.
Okay, well, we do see Brendan go for his Terra. Presumably, this is the Heatran to the Grass type to avoid Stomping Tantrum. Should he leave the Ogerpon alone, it is going to be that Grass typing. That Ability Shield actually coming in really handy for this Heatran. Now that it's nowhere how to be worried about that Mold Breaker. Iron Hand space at the Flutter Mane, which is enough for the knockout. And now Ogerpon needs to do a big task of knocking out the Grass type Heatran without Mold Breaker.
Yeah, I would call it a near impossible task, personally.
And that was going to be what was going to happen. So Stomping Touch to Heatran, almost no damage to this Grass type Heatran without access to that Mold Breaker. But Heat Wave just going to knock out the Ogerpon anyway. And Brandon Davis wins round number 4 with a 2-1 victory. That Ability Shield Heatran. What an adaptation into this Ogerpon metagame.
Yeah, I really liked that Ability Shield Heatran. I will say, this was the best matchup for the Ability Shield Heatran. Basically the only matchup that it really dominates because it, how do I put it? It doesn't necessarily, that item does not do anything in a majority of matchups. And so the decision there to go with the Ability Shield, like, for anyone who does not have the Hearthflame Ogerpon, the Ability Shield doesn't necessarily do anything into those matchups, and it just makes it a slightly worse Heatran. But in this matchup, especially if this Hearthflame Ogerpon becomes a staple of the metagame, I think we'll be seeing a lot more of that Ability Shield Heatran.
Yeah, it's like Mold Breaker in historically Mold Breaker in VGC has been an on-off ability where it's like it's good on certain Pokemon, especially like X Control back in Generation 8 Sword and Shield, where it's like it's good against Levitate, it's good against Disguise, you know, it hit both of its stabs, but we never really see Mold Breaker on a Pokemon like Ogerpon, and it's starting to matter against something like that Heatran, and it's caused a ripple effect.
Yeah, exactly, and I think Heatran trying to build it back and going, okay, actually this is a good matchup for me now, again. But at the same time, you saw there, Brandon had to work around that a couple of times, make sure that the Heatran wasn't getting hit by the Stomping Tantrum, make sure, like, before it terastallized, make sure that he maintained the terastallization throughout the game. It'll be interesting watching players adapt to that, and I wonder how common this will be as we move on with the regulation.
All right, guys, we have one more round left of Swiss coming up, round number 5 coming up, and we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back, round 5 coming up shortly.